city charter and our own policies and bylaws. This entire discussion is based on false premises. I'm not concerned about when these books came into the library. I mean, it's not good that they've been coming in for 30 years, so I don't understand how that strengthens the argument. What I have said is that I don't think these displays are appropriate, and I will give you some examples. I wanted to refrain from doing this because some of them are very vulgar, and you can determine for yourself. To say that we didn't have discussions about this, I brought this up at the first meeting. I wanted to get to know the library director. I was not involved in the hiring process. I came on afterward. The first discussion that we had to do with weeding policy, which, by the way, everything they're saying, this is a materials selection policy, not a weeding policy. We're not talking about removing books from the library. The entire discussion, the comments to the attorneys, the comments to the Michigan Library Association, all based on false premises, that I'm trying to remove anything from the library. Even the discussion of adult book removal. This was a materials selection policy. We have a separate policy for removing materials. And removing materials is not censorship. There is a library sale in here every year where we get rid of hundreds of thousands of books. That's a curation decision. All I'm asking is that we curate well, that we do the job well. And when I brought this up to the director, it became clear that she did not think there was such thing as a good curation decision. She continually conflated the matter. Well, a banned book display is no different than an origami display, an organic gardening display. A 2020 stolen election display is no different than an abortion display. This value-free approach to the library, this neutral approach, is radical. This is extremely radical and dangerous. The idea that we don't know what will provoke the public. We can't figure that out. It's somehow written in the stars. The idea that I am trying to ban LGBTQ books is false. I'm not suggesting that we remove them from the library. Please show me somewhere in the amendment where it says they should be removed from the library. A material selection policy. The entire premise is false. I am suggesting that certain books, which I will read some sections from you and you all can decide, should be transferred out of the children's section because I don't think that they are children's books. I think that children's books should meet a very high and rigorous definition. And in the proposal, I quoted Michigan state law about soliciting and enticing children toward immoral behaviors and actions. These things. The outrage at the very suggestion of curating children's materials, the idea that de facto this is an illegitimate subject, is a sign of the decline of our society. I did not send that email until 2 days after. May 17th, I sent in the proposal. On May 19th, and someone I think George seconded that we discuss it at the meeting. Someone said that they were going to put this on the agenda. I'm not sure who it is. I think it's either Scott or Brianna. It was never put on the agenda. So when I came to the meeting, I'm accused of trying to sneak something through because they didn't do their job with putting things on the agenda. If I was out of order in proposing this amendment too late, then don't put it on the agenda, right? I mean, that the director and the president of the board need to know how to follow the Open Meetings Act. And if I was in violation by sending in the proposal, simply don't add it. The no discussion of political material. Absurd. I'm studying political philosophy. I love nothing more than politics. I said political activism. Political activism. I received comments, would that mean we can't We can't evangelize. Everyone knows what political activism is. This is protests and incitement. Okay, we can define these things. To act like we are unable to define things will destroy the curation process. That's the entire. We used to call the library director a curator, making wise and virtuous decisions about what to include in the library. Having gone through those things, I will read what I prepared. I don't think I wrote anything about this, how to fight racism. No, in my speech today. I definitely did mention it. All I'll say is Jamar Tisby promotes racial segregation, the idea that white people are at the center of hierarchy, at the center of a hierarchy of oppression, that all black people are inherently oppressed. I don't think we should give these ideas to our children. I understand that it has been adopted in mainstream Christian view. I'm not disputing that. I'm simply bringing up, do we want this? Do we want our children exposed to this? And then we have the discussion about it, and if we decide yes, then it remains, right? We have the discussion about it. At the April meeting, I spoke with the library's board members about bringing forward a proposal at the next meeting to further the discussion about curation, particularly in the sections designated for those under age 18. I do want to say, although I appreciate the children's young adult, there isn't such thing as a young adult, right? An 18-year-old is a young adult, right? They can vote, they're an adult. They can get a mortgage. A 13-year-old is not a young adult, that's an older child. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have distinctions based on age, definitely. But the phrase young adult is almost misleading in itself. A 13-year-old girl is not an adult, right?
But she can carry a baby.
We agreed to continue this discussion, but did not take formal action. I assumed the conversation would continue in May, perhaps with a few comments from citizens. For those of you who know me, I've been under some stress, so I hadn't really considered the meeting. I sent in the proposal and was planning to come back on the 20th. On the 17th, or on the 19th, Scott emailed me that there was going to be a protest at the library. The protest said, the Facebook page claimed that the proposal would, quote, ban all LGBTQIA+ materials and other content. The page warned of blatant censorship. And I do want to say, the board had been emailing me continuously about not censoring, and I continued to